What's up guys, Eagle here from ProNDC. Welcome to another ESO build video. So I want to continue with veteran Maelstrom arena builds. Today I have the Magicka Nightblade video, and this is the build that I currently use in veteran Maelstrom arena for the Homestead patch. And I have to say, the difference of the build, like, there hasn't been like any real changes for Magicka Nightblade. You can do really good scores with Magicka Nightblade. I think like the highest score currently is with Magicka Nightblade, 600k plus, both on PC NA and PC EU. Really good. And yeah, the setup that I use is nothing really new. You have some alternatives, but I prefer this setup because it's like a little more safe and you can craft the set. I want to start with the stats first, of course. I have to use some buff food. So we're sitting at 44.7k maximum magicka, 17.1k health, 2.1k spell damage unbuffed, 71% spell crit, and 822 magicka recovery, which is more than enough for the Magicka Nightblade PvE. Thief Stone, max health, max magicka buff food, and we have minor slayers. You can see I am a dark elf. You do not need to be a high elf. The difference is really small. You could be a high elf, you'd have 1% more maximum magicka, a little bit less stamina, and 9% more magicka recovery. For buffing, we use Essence of Spell Power Potions. So, where is it? Consumables. Essence of Spell Power Potions, they give us Major Sorcery, 20% more spell damage, Major Prophecy, which is really important since we do not double slot in light. We get more spell crit, and we get back magicka and some more magicka recovery. So fully buffed, looks like this. Almost 6k spell damage and 925 magicka recovery. It's really important that you use them, as I said, because you do not double bar in light. You could double bar it if you want to, but I personally prefer to have a shield on my bar all the time and to use also use Beast Trap all the time. That's it for stats. To the gear, or for the gear, pretty similar to Templar. We're using 5 pieces of Julianos, all divines, all max magicka. You can craft Julianos here in Rothgar. The crafting station should be around here, I guess, if I remember correctly, like here or here. I'm pretty sure it's like here. And you need 6 traits researched for this. But if you do not have the DLC, you cannot go in VMA anyway. But if you still want to go Julianos, like get Julianos, even though you do not have the Orsinium DLC, someone else can craft it for you. You could go with Burning Spell Weave. You're using a lot of fire damage. I used to play with Burning Spell Weave the first couple times I did VMA, but I wasn't like super happy with it. So Burning Spell Weave is an option. You could also go with Scathing Mage, but Julianos is just safe because Burning Spell Weave and Scathing Mage, the 5-piece bonuses, they have a proc chance. And personally, in VMA, if everything goes so fast that I prefer to go with like, yeah, a fixed amount of spell damage, not without proc set. That's just the way that I prefer it. But still, I think like the best scores were done with, I think, Burning Spellweave, and it gives you more burst, especially in boss fights. So like between the rounds, the difference is not that big, but in boss fights you might be able to burn them faster. Then we have 2 pieces of Grothdar, which gives us maximum magicka. I used to go with Valkenscoria, which is right here, but it gives us health, so you'd sit at a little bit more than 18k health. So if you're a new player, you can go with Valkenscoria to you have a little bit more health, 18.4k health on the front bar, and I think like almost 19k health on the back bar. It's a bit safer, and also the meteor that you that Valkenscoria casts is also really strong, like 13k flame damage. and a little bit more AoE damage, which is nice. but still Grothdar outperforms Valkyskoria because more Magicka means our light attacks, our skills deal a little bit more damage. We do not need that much health, or you do not need it if you know the arena pretty well. And you get the helmet from Vault of Madness, and the shoulders you get them from the Undaunted chests. So if you do daily pledges from the Undaunted and open the chests of, I think, Lyrian, you can get the Grothdar shoulders. Everything Divines, we have 1 heavy, 1 medium piece, and then 5 light on the body. And for jewelry, I'm going with Moon Dancer. You could go with Willpower. The difference is not like really big. Willpower will give you a little bit more spell damage and a little bit more maximum Magicka. Not sure why it's not displaying it correctly here. Okay, a little bit more Magicka and a little bit more spell damage, but we get minor celerity. If you have a Moon Dancer staff, you should always go with Moon Dancer, an Inferno staff that is. Because currently I'm running like 2 Vicious Death sharpened Inferno staffs, one with a Daedric damage enchantment for a little bit more burst, and one with the spell damage enchantment, which is still purple. I don't know why, but the Berserker or the weapon spell damage enchantment should be on the front bar, and then another enchantment on the back bar. However, you could put a poison here if you do not have a Moon Dancer or VMA staffs, and the best option would be to go with an Inferno staff. I'm not sure. Do I have one here? Yeah, 2 Inferno staffs. But the traits are bullshit. You should go with a Maelstrom's Inferno staff on the front bar if you have one in sharpened, and a Moon Dancer Inferno staff sharpened on the back bar, which is really nice. The Maelstrom staff will give you more spell damage, 189 if it's gold, and then also your light attacks and heavy attacks deal more damage when enemies are affected by Wall of Elements, which is also really nice and part of your build. So if you do not have, or if you're a complete beginner, go 5 Julianos, 2 Grothdar or Valkyskoria, 3 Willpower, and random Inferno staffs and sharpen. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the gear. Let's talk about skills. So for skills, I'm using Swallow Soul. You should go with this morph because you get minor vitality, which increases the healing received by 8%. This is our main spammable ability. It heals us for every 2 seconds for 25% of the damage done. I think, yeah, like your Swallow Souls should deal around 16 to 18k damage, so you could do the math. You get heal all the time, which is really nice. Then we have Merciless Resolve. This gives us minor Berserk, increasing the damage done by 8% for 20 seconds. And within this time, if we do 4 light attacks, we can shoot Spectral Bow, which does a lot of damage. And if we buff ourselves here, you can see it does even more. Almost 21k damage, and this is unbuffed. Like if I use a potion now, if I use a potion now, 22.4k non-crit. And if you crit, you deal even more damage, which is really, really nice. Then we have Locate of Fire here, which is the ability that activates the Maelstrom Inferno Staff. If you have one, I do not use one currently, I'm still doing fine. This is an AoE ability, and you put it down when enemies spawn, and then also you put it down when there's a lot of enemies around you and you want to deal some more AoE damage. And this is really important. This ability deals quite a good amount of damage, really important. Then we have Impale. This is our execute. You use it when the enemy is low, 20% health or lower, and then you can spam it with light attacks. And yeah, deals a great amount of damage too. Then Light gives us Major Prophecy and 5% more max Magicka, and then also from the passives of the Major skills we get 2% more Magicka recovery and 2% more max Magicka. Then we have Soul Harvest. This is on the front bar, and it's really important. First of all, sometimes we do not need the big ultimate the Fiery Rage on the back bar. I will get to that later. And this, if you use this against mini bosses, you deal 20% more damage for 6 seconds. So what I do is I use Soul Harvest when I have a Merciless Resolve active. I use Soul Harvest and shoot the Merciless Resolve. Usually then I can just like use an Impale, because all of the mini bosses, they take so much more damage and they're usually done for. For the big bosses, I go with the other ultimate, but it's still important that you have this on the front bar, because while slotted, anytime you kill an enemy, you gain 10 ultimate. So on a Magicka Nightblade, you get a crap ton of ultimate all your time, all the time your Destro ult is ready, almost all the time, because you have passive from Siphoning, Catalyst. After drinking a potion, you gain 20 ultimate, and also transfer. Casting a Siphoning ability generates 2 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. And you have Swallow Soul, Crippling Grasp, and Siphoning attacks on your bars. So you get 2 ultimate every 4 seconds. In addition to all the like 3 ultimates from light attacks that you get every second. So potions, your Soul Harvest, your Catalyst and Transfer passives, they get you ultimate really fast. The back bar, we're using Crippling Grasp. I've seen a lot of people using Crippling Grasp on the front bar. You could do that and put the Execute on the back bar. It's totally up to you. Personally, I prefer to have it on the front bar because it works better with Soul Harvest. Because like when I execute small enemies, I'd be on this bar with my Fiery Rage, which is not good. So I prefer to have Impale on the front bar. Crippling Grasp, good dot gives us Major Expedition, so increasing our movement speed by 30%. The thing is, do not cast it on small enemies. Only cast it on mini bosses. For the Major Expedition buff, you could also use Refreshing Path, which is also really nice. This heals us every second for 1.2k health. Not a crit, which is nice. Like on a crit, like 2.5k on a crit. I'm not sure if it gets it. No. So 2.5k on a crit. Really nice and a really good additional AoE ability. Lasts for 11.5 seconds. Then we have our Rearming Trap, same as with the Templar. If you watch the video, we put it down when enemies spawn. They will get rooted, and yeah, they will stay away from you for a while, and then in the meantime you can do damage to other enemies. Then we use Siphoning attacks. You do not need to use Siphoning attacks. I still prefer to use it because yeah, I use Trap a lot, and like I'm not really good at the arena. But to be honest, you do not need it. On other classes, you do not have Siphoning attacks, and you still can manage your resources pretty well. It's just important that you do not like overcast your abilities and make sure you find the right balance. Like when to recast and what enemies to prioritize, and when to cast what ability on what enemy. And this takes a really long time to get used to it, so I still play with Siphoning attacks because sometimes I need to dodge roll a lot and I need to get back stamina from my light attacks, which is really important. Then we have Harness Magicka. You could use the other morph if you use Siphoning attacks, but personally I prefer to use Harness Magicka because it's better for my resource management. I do not need that big of a shield. The other morph, I think it's like Absorb Magic, I'm not sure. No, Dampen Magic has a bigger shield size, but it's not that huge of a difference, so I prefer to go with Harness Magicka. Then as the ultimate we have Fiery Rage, and Fiery Rage is better than Meteor. First of all, it's AoE, same as Meteor, but the radius is 10 meters, so this is really a huge ultimate. Like the area is huge and it deals a ton of damage. What most people don't know is that Elemental Rage does more damage than Meteor, even on single target. but it's more expensive, so it's harder to or you will cast more meteors in trials than fiery rages. So in the end, meteor is a bit better, but people forget this passive. Your destruction staff abilities ignore 10% of the enemy spell resistance. So you get some extra damage from this passive. The tooltip damage is a little bit lower than from meteor, but you always have to calculate this one. Of course, if the resistances of the enemies are at 0, this passive is pretty much useless, but still, that's what most people forget. And this also is the reason why, or like one of the additional reasons why Force Pulse is a little bit stronger than Swallow Soul or Funnel Health. Anyway, this is pretty much the skill setup. I want to talk about champion points now. So why could you play without siphoning text? So you have a passive in the CP tree, which is called Arcane Well. Gives you a 20% chance when you kill an enemy of opening an Arcane Well, which restores 4.2k Magicka up to 3 allies within 2.5 meters of the enemy. You kill a lot, so you make use of this passive a lot. So I hardly use siphoning attacks, to be honest. Like maybe in Arena 7 sometimes, in Arena 5 sometimes. I struggle a little bit with Magicka, but still, yeah. And also, there's a passive, and I think Assassination. You restore 1.8k Magicka over 6 seconds when you kill an enemy with an Assassination ability. So when we execute an enemy, we get back Magicka all the time. So that's the reason why I have this bar set up, and that's the reason why you could play without siphoning attacks. Anyway, getting back to champion points. So we have an elemental expert. Since we do have a really high spell crit chance, we do have 46 points into Elfborn. You could even put some more points into it to get higher crits. Totally up to you. We have 6 points into Spell Erosion, 2 into Staff Expert, and then I have 46 points into Thaumaturge. So my damage over time effects are, for example, my Trap, my Crippling Grasp, my Refreshing Path, and my Blockade. And then also my ultimate, my Fiery Rage, is damage over time. So I prefer to put a little bit more points into Thaumaturge, because like every time we do not crit, all the Elfborn points are not active. But if you put some more points into Elfborn, you should get a little bit more healing from your path and your funnel health. So the blue tree, that's the important tree. Then for the green tree, pretty basic, 100 into cost reduction into Magician, 87 into Arcanist, and 13 into Tumbling. You could put some more points into Tumbling if you want to. It's not that bad for VMA, like 20 points, maybe even more, because your recovery is low anyway. And like if you're a high elf, you should put some take some points out of Arcanist and put them into Tumbling. On the red tree, I currently use 10 into Quick Recovery to get a little bit more healing, 19 to Hardy, and 10 into Elemental Defender. That's the way I play it. You could put some points into Spell Sheet, but actually it doesn't really matter. You could also put some points into Thick Skin, but I prefer to have it this way. Pretty simple setup, and I think that should be about it. I don't think that I need to show the build in action, because like this playstyle is relatively similar. So I would just like, instead of going into the arena, I would just assume like this is a spot where an enemy spawns. So what I do when I start is, because I pop a potion, I buff myself, then I put down the trap, put down the refreshing path, put down the blockade, and then I go to the next spawn of an enemy, because like there's always at least two enemies that spawn, and then I charge a heavy attack, animation cancel it with the Swallow Soul. So I go to the next spawn, do a heavy attack, and do a Swallow Soul. And usually they're so low that on HP that I can just like use an Impale again. to finish the enemy off. In the meantime, the first enemy will be so low on HP that I can also execute him. Then I will just like reapply refreshing path and the blockade, because the trap will get rearmed again, and then I go back to the next spawn, charge an attack, and use Swallow Soul and just finish off the enemy. Pretty simple. Like a lot of Magicka Maelstrom builds work the same. Because of the heavy attacks, I get back resources as well. But anyway, thanks guys for watching. I hope you will enjoy the build. If you liked the build, make sure to hit the like button, and if you do not want to miss any more ESO content on my channel, make sure to hit that sub button. I'd really appreciate it. I hope to see you next time, guys. Until then, bye bye.